He's blocked. Does he block high? Does he block low? Here it comes. Kyle Busch in the middle. Shooting a gap. No help with Kyle Busch.
Oh, Suarez right alongside him. 3 wide. Off turn 4. Here they come to the flag. 3 abreast. Photo finish.
I think it's Blaney. Unbelievable. 3 wide finish. Have you ever seen anything like that?
The race finish is under review.
How about that? Freeze frame, stop motion to the line. That's too close to call. Unbelievable.
I thought it was Blaney, but that picture right there.
That pretty much says it all. What a race. What a finish. What an intro to the show. And that's courtesy of Fox and Mike Joy, Clint Boyer, and Kevin Harvick on the call there. Oh my gosh. Folks, Atlanta, I told you all last week, I loved the reconfiguration, and it outdid itself today. I mean, this was honestly top 3 best races of all time that I've watched as a fan. I think this is number 1 in the next gen car, and it's not just because of the finish. It was because of the passing all race long. It kind of raced like a hybrid. It really wasn't a super speedway type race, and it wasn't a mile-and-a-half type race. It's kind of combined. At some points, you had a big pack. At other points, they broke off with each other, ran single file, even got some 4 wide racing at one point. 3 wide, 4 wide. Just an amazing race. I'm mad at myself for not going. I think this is the first race since the Atlanta reconfiguration that I haven't been there. Actually, one last year. The one Logano one, I wasn't there because I was at the NCAA tournament watching Kentucky. But, man, Atlanta. That's all there is to say. And we get to go back there for the playoffs this year. First race of the playoffs. If you all watched, you knew that this was honestly... my mind goes back to Ricky Craven, Kurt Busch in like 2003 at Darlington as the only better finish than this one. It was just so awesome. It was the 3rd closest finish of all time. And Daniel Suarez edges out Ryan Blaney and Kyle Busch at the very end. So we're going to get into it. But I wanted to put that call as the intro. And I'm excited for the sport of NASCAR. I'm excited for all the fans. Building off the momentum of the Netflix release show. This is awesome. The Daytona 500 was good. This race was better in my opinion. A lot better. You had more wrecks, more passes, more ability for the drivers to showcase where they wanted to run at, and how they wanted to pass. I just thought it was awesome all the way around. From the spotters to the crew chiefs to the drivers. If the drivers that weren't in incidents, it seemed like they were all having fun. I saw some spotters' tweets that said, "Man, that was fun to spot." It's a good race, just overall. But we're going to get into it, recap it all from start to finish, and strap in. I'm going to give opinions on things as always. And thank you all for listening to the first 2 episodes of the season. So let's get into it. How could you start off with anything other than before the race? Joey Logano with a very strange penalty. First time I've ever seen anything like this, to be honest with you. Has to drop to the back and do a pass-through penalty because of gloves. Gloves not being approved by the rules committee. They showed on the broadcast during qualifying Joey Logano having webbed gloves on his left hand. Apparently, he would put it to the window net, make him gain speed. That's what NASCAR classified as a competitive advantage for him. So that was strange. The race started off strange when you see that in the pre-race, and I didn't really know what to think about it, but obviously the right call. If they saw that it was indeed a competitive advantage for Joey or for any driver, I think that you got to make that call. It ended up not hurting him, because of the lap 3 big one. Stack up in the tri-oval starts with Austin Dillon. Truex hits him. Someone hit into Truex. I forget who it was. Maybe Barry. Maybe Josh Berry. Huge stack up. The involved in the wreck include Austin Dillon, Alex Bowman, Noah Gragson, Tyler Reddick, and Eric Jones. A lot of those guys were done right then and there. Went several laps down. Gragson was out of the race. Bell was out of the race. Josh Williams was out of the race early. And I was shocked to see it that early, to be honest with you. I knew the race would be wild. But on lap 3, a big one after not really having that. I mean, they had one crazy big one at the very end of Daytona. But to start it off on lap 3, I thought things would calm down. I was very much wrong. Because these cars really seemed like they were hard for these drivers to handle. Especially as the run went on. Next you see Chris Buescher self-spin off of 4. He said he had no grip, and that goes along with my point. That it just seemed like they were battling the cars. You know, the track, Atlanta itself, is starting to age in that Atlanta weather. You know, you can tell it doesn't have that same dark pavement on it as it did when they first repaved. It sits, it weathers, and it's turning into a heck of a track, to be honest with you. I mean, it was awesome before the repave, and I've loved the repave, but it's getting back to that slick racetrack with no grip, and these guys were struggling all day long, it seemed like. Chris Buescher was just one guy that self-spun. There was a couple on into the race. Denny Hamlin and Kyle Busch get into it also in the Tribal. Tribal seemed to be tricky. Looked like Denny came down on Kyle. I hated to see that. Wish I could blame it on someone else. You all know Denny's my dude, my driver, but you know, he came down on to Kyle Busch. Kyle held his line, just kind of spun him. Luckily, no damage after that wreck for the 11. He did a good job of saving it. Kyle Busch didn't do anything wrong. He was holding his line, and it just seemed like a mix-up. Denny thought he was clear. He clearly wasn't as he spins through the grass. But like I said, no damage from that spin. After that, some people elected to pit, some people didn't. Michael McDowell would go on to win the first stage. That's huge for that team, especially after, you know, not doing well at all in the Daytona 500, having electrical issues. To come out, get the pole, and win the first stage was huge for that 34 team. I think you see, and while we're talking about McDowell, the 34 and the 38, Todd Gilliland had another phenomenal race until the end where he had pit road issues and something happened with the car, but he led several laps. I would bet, I haven't saw the stats, but I would bet he led the most laps of anybody, Todd. Todd or McDowell won. I know one of them had to. Because I think they're here to stay, not just at super speedways. I think they're going to be very good as the season goes on, and I think they're going to end up being your most surprising team in the garage. With that Ford back support, they're now a Tier 1 Ford team. I said that last week, but it's proved again this week that they're going to be legit. McDowell and Gilliland both led laps, and they've got the cars to do it now. So I would expect them to be up there. I did want to shout out Todd for driving a great race, not causing any trouble, not getting into any wrecks that I know of, and just running a great race. So it was good for that front row team. Zane Smith was up in the top 5, ends up putting himself in a pretty bad position there. Had to go 3 wide, ends up in the fence, breaks the toe link, and his day ended. Hated to see that for Zane. He had a great 13th place run at Daytona the week before and was running, so he was in the top 5 when he had this issue, but Zane will be back. He'll be back, be more competitive. Of course, this is his first year. He's on that Trackhouse deal where Spire is pretty much renting him for a year. He's running the 71 car, and I expect good things from him going forward, but just had a bad break today. And then after that Zane Smith wreck, or actually it didn't even bring out the caution. It broke his toe link. He had to get down and go into the pits, but no caution flag came out. So now we are at green flag pit stops. And you knew at Atlanta how tricky it would be getting onto pit road, going from that fast to down to 90 miles per hour under green to down to 45 on pit road. You knew it would be tricky. The first couple groups actually did it without any, Chastain sped, but other than that, didn't have any issues until Michael McDowell overshoots the commitment line, has to lock it up, ends up locking it up so hard that he turns sideways and collects Byron. Him and Byron both into the wall. No caution here, though. They wanted to keep the green flag cycle going. Nobody was in danger. Byron and McDowell both got their cars refired and going, but Byron and McDowell made contact going into pits, and it looked like a pretty hard hit, but both were able to continue. I touched on after that Ross speeding on pit road. Josh Berry also did. Set them both back for a little bit during this race. But in my opinion, Atlanta under green flag would be the easiest pit road to speed on. I mean, it would have to be the hardest to get down to speed, just because it's a 1.5 miles, but also super speedway. You're flying through there, so it would be very difficult to get down to speed. So it just shows how good these drivers are and how much practice it takes. They got 10 minutes of practice. They got 10 minutes of practice on that pit road entrance. So that's rough. And then we go to coming to the end of stage 2, Joey Logano, basically, in my opinion, clearing himself. The announcers acted like he got tight. I tend to disagree with that. And as you all know, all this is 100% my opinion. I'm talking just of what I see on the racetrack. Looked like Logano just cleared himself. He tried to fit himself into a hole that was not there coming to the stage. And I could be wrong. He could have got tight, but I think that he was trying to get in a hole that wasn't there. Runs Buescher up into the wall. Buescher tried to let off of it to, I guess, try to let Joey in. Ends up hitting the fence first and then getting Joey. And, of course, Denny had nowhere to go. Runs into the back of the 17, spins down the track. Had a little bit of right front damage, but he was able to continue. Everybody but Logano was able to continue. Logano continued, but he was several laps down because he had all 4 tires flat on the track. So, of course, had to wait for the tow truck and all that. So, hated to see that for all 3 of those guys. All 3 of those guys were race-winning cars, honestly. Logano was super fast. Buescher was super fast. Denny was up front all day long. So, I hated to see that. But because of the caution, Austin Cindric wins the second stage under caution. And that's big for that team. As you know, he was there at the end of the Daytona 500, got wrecked, with him and Chastain wrecking it on the last lap. So, good for him to get points. Next, we have Kyle Busch and Kaz Grala, who was driving the 15 for Rick Ware Racing, make contact. It looked like Kyle was trying to get under him, and Kaz kind of made contact with him. The 15 is the one that ends up spinning. There was caution. They did call caution for that. After that, they regroup, and Ross Chastain and Bubba Wallace were racing for the free pass after that caution. So Ross, being Ross, got in too aggressive to the 9 of Chase Elliott. Bumps him in the corner, sends Chase for a spin. Didn't really understand that move. I know you're racing for the free pass, but if I was Chase Elliott or a Chase Elliott fan, I'd be pretty upset at the one, not going to lie. So, of course, being in the caution, the one doesn't get the lucky dog there. And Bubba Wallace gets it. But, Ross, towards the end of last year until the championship race, had kind of chilled, it seemed like. So is this a return of the Ross Chastain shenanigans? We'll see. Hated it for Chase. I'm sure the Hendrick camp was not happy with that. I know I wouldn't be if it was my driver that he spun. So we'll see if that goes anywhere. I'm sure Chase will not cut him any breaks as the season goes on. And for the first time in a long time, we see 4 wide racing with 50 laps to go. They made it stick for like a lap, and then Martin Truex got shuffled towards the back there. But that was awesome to see. It wasn't the only time we saw it either. Saw it later on into the race, but I put in here, OMG. I cannot believe we're 4 wide. And that just goes to show how good the race was, to be honest with you. There wasn't a lap where there wasn't any passes that I can remember straight up. Like, They might have went single file for a very short period, but that's not coming to my mind. What's coming to my mind is the dive bombs into the turns, trying to clear up to the top line, and vice versa. I mean, it was just awesome action all the way around the track, and that 4 wide racing is just one more example of that. And for nobody to wreck out of that, which later on in the race they do, but in that particular instance, the first time they went 4 wide, everybody got out of it pretty clean, other than Truex losing several spots, but nobody wrecked that time. And then we go to another wild incident where the 5, the 6, and the 7 car were all involved with 40 to go. Brad Keselowski gets loose in front of Kyle Larson, and Larson has nowhere to go. Neither did LaJoie. He tried checking up, but it was too late. Plows into the 6 car, and Larson's day ends. He had ran really well up until that point. You know, Larson is not known as a super speedway racer, but today, at one point, I thought he was going to win it, to be honest with you. Definitely run top 5. He was up there all day long. The Hendrick camp continues to bring strong super speedway cars. That's not a shock, obviously, but for a guy like Larson who doesn't like super speedway racing, it was a very good run for him until he got involved in that incident. And Brad Keselowski was my pick to win. He got himself up there in the top 5 late in that race. This incident happened with 40 to go, so he was up there. He led some laps, and ends up wrecking. So Corey LaJoie, who I have in the new group NASCAR group that I'm in. Shout out everyone that's listening from that, by the way. He goes on to finish 13th, helped me there. I honestly thought he'd finish better, but then once he got that nose damage, it was pretty much all over as far as contending for a top 5 or a win for LaJoie. But I'll take a 13th. I had McDowell last week, now that I'm talking about it. I had McDowell last week, and like I said, he had engine issues within the first 10 laps. So hated to get started off like that, but sort of bounce back to this week with a 13th place finish. And then we move on to the move that probably infuriated me more than any other move of the race, to be honest with you. I didn't think there was any reason to go 4 wide in a corner with still 25, 30 laps to go. Although it was awesome when they did it with 50 to go. Briscoe just continued to put himself in bad positions. It looked like, they even said it on the broadcast. The 14 is crazy. He'll not crazy, but his car is crazy. It's not handling the best. He'll get these huge runs, and nobody will go with him because his car's, he would ship it into the bottom, and then he would drift up immediately. Just no handling on that 14. It didn't seem like, or he didn't have very good control of it. He gets a huge run down the backstretch, and they're already 3 wide. And he throws it in there 4 wide, ends up spinning. Denny gets into his left quarter, and it wrecks. It honestly damaged Denny just as bad as it did Briscoe. Denny was able to continue, but Briscoe spins and clips Denny's right front, and pretty much ended Denny's day. So, hated to see it. They were battling up front, especially, Denny seemed like in every single caution today. But he had put himself in a position. He led laps also late. He put himself in a position to get a top 5, top 10 finish. Maybe go win the thing, and it gets taken away with a move that I wasn't a big fan of. I don't think really anybody was a fan of that move based on the broadcast. So, after that, Bubba Wallace gets loose, accordion effect to the 4 machine, the 77 and the 9. It looked like Carson Hocevar could have done a wheelie. He might have even done a wheelie when Josh Berry spun and hit him in the right front. That was a wild wreck. Berry just kept spinning around and around, but Carson Hocevar, he was up on 3 wheels at one point, and then Chase Elliott slid down the backstretch. But, good run for all those guys. Carson was running top 10 when that happened. Chase, he was in a similar situation to Denny. He seemed like in every single wreck that was around him. But Chase still brought it home for a 15th place finish. I mean, even with all the stuff he was involved in, he did a great job. And then, of course, after that, you've got the finish of a decade that I played at the beginning. Just an insane battle. It looked like Bubba was going to help Blaney there at the end. I think that was the goal, was to push Blaney to the win. But, with Bubba's damage on his car from the first incident of the day, he couldn't get his car to stick. Drifted up the track, and therefore the front three had no drafting help. It's a 3-horse race to the end, and based on that call alone, you could tell if you didn't watch it. Just an insane finish. Ryan Blaney, Kyle Busch, and Suarez. At the beginning, it looked like Blaney edged Suarez. Well, at the beginning, it looked like a complete tie between those two. You could tell Busch was third, but it looked like a tie between Suarez and Blaney. And go back, look at it, and by an inch, Suarez beats Blaney. Of course, Blaney last year won at Talladega by about an inch against Kevin Harvick. So Blaney said in this post race that he's won some by an inch and lost some by an inch. So he had to. He understands how it feels, and he congratulated Daniel Suarez on the win. A huge win for the 99 team. Maybe a ride-saving win. We talked in the preseason about how Suarez was in must-win territory. I didn't expect him to get it. I definitely didn't expect him to get it at a super speedway. I thought if he did get one, it would be at a road course, and he went out, proved me wrong, proved everybody wrong. If you had Daniel Suarez winning that race, please let me know and let me know the numbers to pick out on the lottery as well, because I didn't see that. I don't think anybody saw it, but he put himself in the right position. He avoided all the chaos. He missed the Briscoe-Denny incident by about a foot, but puts himself in position, goes and gets the win, locks himself in the playoffs, and now we're on to regular tracks. We're on to Las Vegas. 2 super speedways to end the year. Atlanta was 10 times better than Daytona. I think they will stick with the schedule as far as 2 super speedways starting off the year. For some guys, it was brutal. It's a brutal start to the year. Austin Dillon, man, that's about as bad of a start to his season as you can have. He finished the race, but he was not competitive all day long, finished 22nd. Hated to see it for Josh Williams, who just had an awful weekend altogether. He was out of the Xfinity race like 10 laps in too. So I hate to see that. Of course, Noah's one of my favorites. He had a good run at Daytona, but was in that first wreck and did not finish the race. Finished 36th. Seabell 34th. Keselowski 33rd. Larson falls to 32nd with his deal. We're gonna do my shout outs for people who had good finishes. Of course, Suarez winning is huge for that team. Austin Cindric brings it home 4th. He had a good run. Bubba Wallace 5th. Stenhouse Jr. up to 6th. Harrison Burton 11th, misses the top 10 by 1 position. He needed that. That 21 team, they're always quick. They're always fast at super speedways. And he finally gets a good finish. Of course, Corey 13th, Kaz Grala 14th. Carson Hocevar, even after his damage, 19th, and Justin Haley 20th. That's some notable finishes and finishers. All those guys. Shout out to them. Shout out to NASCAR for delivering a great race. If there's a race this season that tops that one, I definitely want to see it. I think Kansas has a good shot too. I'm a big Kansas guy. Darlington has been good the last couple years. So we'll see. Michigan was good last year, those type of tracks, but man, this one's going to be hard to top. I don't know how you top I guess the only way you could top a 3-wide almost tie at the line would be 4-wide. And I don't see that happening anywhere. Maybe Talladega, but that would be it. Just a crazy all-timer. This whole weekend's been awesome. people hated on the Xfinity race yesterday. I get that. They were single file a lot of the time. Truck race was pretty good, though, to be honest with you. I thought the trucks raced well. Shout out Daniel Dye for finishing 9th. And getting the pole. How about that? Daniel Dye getting the pole, his first career pole. I need to take a minute to talk about that. So proud of him. So proud of that 43 team. They're going to be a factor this year. I predicted Corey Heim to win that one. Kyle Busch won the truck race. Corey finished 3rd. And Daniel finished 9th. So I think it was a very successful weekend. And then you throw in a little bonus that doesn't have to do with NASCAR, but you throw in a little bonus that the Kentucky Wildcats beat the brakes off of Alabama in basketball. And you throw in a great weekend of sports for me. So hope you all enjoyed it as well. Now we look towards Las Vegas. And before I'm getting ahead of myself here, Austin Hill in the Xfinity Series, oh my gosh. He is insane on super speedways. Like, I knew it before this year, but this year comes and he's won 2 in a row. Again, the Daytona one, he earned it. This one, even on fuel mileage, he somehow saves enough fuel. Everyone around him ran out. Everyone that pitted the same lap he did ran out. And this dude comes out of a fuel mileage race and still wins. So, shout out to Austin Hill, man. How can you bet against him on super speedways? If I ever say anybody else in the Xfinity Series is going to win a super speedway race, just stop me and say, no, you need to pick Austin Hill. So, he's extremely dominant in that Xfinity car at super speedways. So, he's one to watch in the future coming to Cup as well. I think he'll be in the Cup Series eventually, and we'll see where it goes from there. But he's so good at Xfinity super speedway races. Now, on to Las Vegas. And I will just tell you all, I'm loading up on taking Denny in the Cup Series. He's had 2 super fast cars, but super speedway racing. I just, luck hasn't been his way, but the Toyota with the new nose, I could see. I should not say leaning heavy on Denny. I should say leaning heavy on the Toyotas. I think JGR will be really good. The Fords will be too. The Fords are good at Vegas. You can't go to Vegas without thinking Logano or Blaney. One will be up there as well. But I'm leaning heavy on the Toyotas, and I'm going to pick Denny Hamlin to win the Cup race in Las Vegas. I'm not 100% positive on Denny winning, but I'm very, very confident it'll be a JGR car. I do my team of the week. I haven't done that for these super speedways, but team of the week, JGR this week. I think, like I said, one of them ends up in victory lane, one of the 4. It wouldn't surprise me if 2311 is very strong too, but I'll take Denny. Xfinity, well, we'll do Truck. Truck is also in Las Vegas Friday night at 9 p.m. That's a late one. Once again, Toyota, Corey Heim. He's finished 2nd and 3rd in 2 super speedway races. They've been dominant. I feel like they're way above everyone else. So I'll go Corey Heim in the Craftsman Truck Series race at Las Vegas. Xfinity, how can you bet against Riley Herbst right now at Vegas after the clinic he put on last time they were there? I'm taking Riley Herbst to win in the Xfinity Series. So there's my predictions. Haven't got one right this year on 2 super speedways. It was close with Corey Heim. I don't know where Creed finished. I think he finished like 9th or something. And then Brad Kay was leading before we wrecked. But I think we get back on track this week. I'm confident. I think we'll get at least one of the 3 right. Maybe not, but we'll see. So you got it. Heim, Herbst, Hamlin. 3 H's. How about that? I didn't even realize that when I picked them. But those are my 3 picks. You all let me know your predictions. I love hearing them. I love interacting with you all. I know a lot of you all were mind blown at the race just like I was. I didn't want it to end, to be honest with you. There was a time where all the cautions were happening. I'm like, is this race ever going to end? But the finish proved that, it was one of the best races that I've ever seen. And I've watched NASCAR since I was in diapers. And remember, you can ask my mother or my father. I learned my numbers from NASCAR. I learned the logos of businesses from NASCAR. So I've watched it a very long time. And this, along with the Ricky Craven, Kurt Busch finish, this is one of the most memorable ones. You add another car that you almost tie with, and it gets ratcheted up. So awesome for Daniel Suarez to get that win at Atlanta. Awesome for the NASCAR community to have an incredible finish like that. And NASCAR's rolling. Let's keep it up. With the Netflix series coming out, these two awesome races back to back. If you are a new fan of this podcast or of NASCAR, I hope you enjoy it, man. This has been awesome. If you're a new fan and you're watching both of those races for the first time, I don't know how in the world you would not tune in next week at Las Vegas. And I think that was the goal. I think that's why they put two super speedways at the beginning of the year, to get the eyes on them. And the drivers delivered, Fox delivered, NASCAR delivered in a huge way. Just can't say enough good things about today's race. And shout out to Daniel Suarez, and let's go do it again in Las Vegas. Let's go roll the dice and see if we can have another amazing race. Mile and a half with this next gen car have been phenomenal, and now you even have a super speedway mile and a half that's phenomenal. So people crap on the next gen car a lot. I understand some of it, but man, when you have races that are this awesome, NASCAR's doing the right thing in my opinion. Now, is there areas where the next gen car can improve? Absolutely. But I think they've really found something good with this mile and a half package. And now with Atlanta, if they can keep the track weathered just like it is now, heck, if they raced Atlanta every week, I'd be down. I know the drivers hate that, but it was awesome to watch as a fan on TV. It was awesome, and I'm sure being there was even more crazy. But I'd like to see, Jordan Bianchi of The Athletic wrote an article. If you all want to go read it, if you've subscribed to The Athletic, and it was an anonymous poll, whether it's crew chiefs, drivers, people in the garage, media members. He went through and asked people, and I think the category that I'm talking about was drivers only. It might have been drivers and crew chiefs, but he asked them what track they were most dreading, and the overwhelming favorite answer was Atlanta. And I couldn't believe it when I read it, because I loved the reconfiguration. Obviously, the drivers didn't, but I wonder if today changed their mind. I'd like to see that. Todd Gilliland had an awesome quote while he was up in the front. He said, "This is kind of like a haunted house. It's kind of fun, but I'm fearing for my life at the same time," or something like that. And I think that was really true. Kevin Harvick extended on that and said, "Yeah, here in Atlanta, that's what it felt like. It's kind of fun driving these cars, but you're scared at the same time." So, I think it was awesome. Shout out everybody that put this together. Marcus Smith of SMI deciding to repave this into racing like a super speedway, is a huge deal. So, everybody keep doing great things. NASCAR is continuing to tick back up. And I can't wait to go watch a race in person this year. It's coming sooner or later. You all know I went to probably 10 last year. Hope to expand on that this year, so we'll see. But as always, thank you all for listening. I hope you all really enjoy this episode as much as I have done doing it. That was my first thought when the race was over. It's like, oh my gosh, I get to sit here and ramble about this finish. So thank you all so much for listening. Y'all are the best. This has been JD's NASCAR and Sports Podcast. We're available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeart, Amazon Music, and this will be uploaded to YouTube as well. I'm hoping in the next week or so to get me a video camera that I like. that will be set up to where some of these podcasts will be streamed on YouTube. So thank you all so much. Couldn't do it without you. Couldn't do it without the listeners. It's been so fun. I can't wait for the rest of this season. So as always, thank you all. And this has been JD's NASCAR and Sports Podcast.